What is up, everyone? Welcome back. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. My name is Shakti. Welcome to this safe space. That's what I'm so proud of creating with this channel. So if you are a regular, you'll know that my channel is about having a healthy temple and a vibrant spirit and the marriage between those two things. And the Fireside chats are a personal project that I took on as a truther, as a self-proclaimed truther, to begin to disseminate information that I think is valuable in this day and age, because something else I teach is metaphysics. And a lot of what is coming to light right now ties into a lot of the things that I have studied for a long, long time about our ET history, our galactic connections, the true origins of the Earth and where we came from, and the kind of dominion that we've been under for a long time that nobody wants to talk about. And all of it is flipping on its head, because right now, as we speak, we are living in a time of turnover. And if you guys haven't realized that, we are in a massive turnover of power, not just in the US, but globally. And lots of people are pissed about that, especially the people who are not so nice, who have invested a lot of money and a lot of energy and a lot of sacrifices, literally, into having governing power on the planet. So now that there's a turnover of energy, and now that the planet is being returned to a different time, a different timeline, the dark CABAL, can't say these words because you'll get tagged or flagged or whatever, is pissed. They're pissed, and they're doing whatever they can right now to make sure that doesn't happen, except it's not going to work. So don't panic, because it's already done, but they are freaking out. Yes, Leah, you found the chat. Welcome. Hello, Joseph. Welcome. Okay, so let's start my little trusted sheet. First of all, as always, a shout out to my patrons. You guys are the best. And if you're not a patron yet, you can become a patron. Just go to patreon.com/ShaktiTV, like the name of this channel, and you can sign up for a bunch of different tiers. But you guys are the reason I take the time and do this research, and you guys make it possible for me. So a shout out to you guys. So one of the things that was circulating, we're going to get to the Death Star. I know everybody wants to hear about the Death Star. Don't worry. We're going to go there. This is cray. Okay. This is stuff that I am digging into that is like, boom, going to blow your mind. So don't go anywhere. But current events. Let's come to the current events. I'm going to save that. Okay. So one of the things that happened 4/21 was this hot mic at the briefing, right? So what happened was they started talking, and a microphone was on in the White House briefing room before the president ever got on and started talking. And there was some things said during that mic incident that caught someone's attention, okay? And so then the video clip got taken, and people started slowing it down and started like enhancing the audio, because y'all patriots on the internet are the literal best. Y'all know how to find shit. So I want to give a shout out to all the patriots doing the work right now, because y'all are like master technicians, like electricians. Y'all can do some magical shit. And what you honed in on the microphone was a couple of things. There was a comment made about everybody being vaxxed who was in the room, which was real interesting. That comment was interesting. Other thing that was interesting was the percentages they talked about. The correct percentages that the actual California death rate or death toll for the virus was 1/10 of what was being reported. 1/10, which would make it on par with the flu. Fascinating. So then someone jokingly goes, so it was a hoax. Right? And someone else in the room is like, nah, I don't think it was a hoax. Okay. All right. I'm just going to leave that there for you. That's what they said. You can deduce what you want. That was the hot mic situation. But it definitely got everybody's gears turning. They be lying, right? Though, come on. Let's be serious. Everybody knows those numbers don't make any sense, and they cannot agree on anything. And now we know why. We caught them literally saying that. And it was a report that had come out that day. So the 21st of April, that was the day that report came out with the accurate numbers. And so they were discussing that during the hot mic incidents. Okay. So the following briefing, first of all, when people are like, conspiracy theorists, prove yourself, blah, blah, there's no proof. Y'all remember when we were like, that virus didn't come from bats? Y'all remember when we were like, the WHO should not be trusted? Y'all remember when we were like, don't trust the CDC, right? And now all of a sudden, it's become public knowledge that this is a designer virus and that it actually came out of a level 4 lab in Wuhan. It's been said nationally, publicly by the president. So for anybody who wants to say there's no credence to what you guys are saying, you guys aren't really saying the truth, here's the truth for you. We were right. Okay, all of those suspicions were correct, and it has officially been said aloud to the point where not only did the WHO get defunded, but the US is saying they're not going to fund them ever again, period. Right? Because why? Because the president then said they were running an investigation, and guess what they're going to find in that investigation? Something very, very, very interesting. Like this, like the fact that in 2015, there was $3 million awarded to this lab by the United States of America. What? I'm sorry, what did we just hear? You're right. You heard what I said. Guess who was president at that time? Just throw it out there. Yes, y'all. You heard correctly. We, the president at that time, 2015, gave this lab nearly $3 million worth of money. Okay, we're trying to figure out why that was. They will figure it out, by the way. This is all connected, okay? The Mr. Windows, this random scientist that got arrested from Harvard, this $3 million that was given to this lab. Okay, all of this is connected. Yeah, there's lots of stuff he signed off in office that most of us that supported him, because I was one of them, did not know. Okay, this is one of the things that we didn't know. Shady ass shit. Okay, just saying. Then there's this VA study coming out saying, this medication, hydroxychloroquine, it's found to be worse. It can kill people. Okay, if y'all don't see Operation Mockingbird at work in that study, y'all are blind. Because the Epic Times put out this whole article about this New York doctor who's treated 400 patients using that sequence that the president had mentioned with great success. And lots of other people have as well. Why would someone put out this study? Right? Think about it. Think about it. If you guys aren't seeing that this is a takedown, that this is really trying to suppress what the president is saying and suppress possible therapies that don't have anything to do with immunization, y'all aren't seeing the full picture yet. Okay? This isn't about a political party. This is literally about oppression, mass oppression, keeping people in the dark, not giving them options, mandating things that are medical mandates. Okay, this is scary stuff, y'all. Pay attention, okay? This VA study comes out to try and knock out the validity of these therapies that are alternate therapies that are not immunizations, okay? And then in the following live, which is the 23rd, the president brings up disinfecting agents for the blood. And the media goes crazy thinking this idiot, he's talking about drinking Lysol and he's talking about blah, 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 because the mainstream media is an idiot, okay? And if anybody who literally thought that's what was being talked about, please buy a dictionary and spend the next couple of months actually reading it, because the word disinfectant is an actual word and it doesn't mean Lysol. Newsflash. You're welcome. Okay, if more of us paid attention in English class, we would know how to find the root words and figure out what words mean. But apparently everybody slept through that class. So here we are with a bunch of people thinking he actually said that, which is completely untrue. And by the way, the use of alternate therapies to disinfect the blood has been used for a long time. Ozone therapy, light therapy, heat therapy, all of these things are valid forms of therapy, which the East has talked about forever. Forever. This was on the 23rd. he did that briefing. The East has been recommending these therapies forever, and they are super highly beneficial. And they do clean the blood, and they do disinfect the blood, and they do create a cleansing from the inside out. And what he did by saying that out loud and by looking at Dr. Birx and saying, isn't that the case? Don't we know about this? Okay. And she's staring at him like, no, because she's an idiot, basically, and doesn't want to admit that that's a therapy. Doesn't want to admit that that's a form of therapy. They don't want you to know you have options. They don't want you to know that. They want you to go with immunizations. They want you to get scared. They want you to get chipped. They want to track you. That's what they want. That was the end game. That was the end game. But by this guy saying, hey, what about this? What about this? Isn't it interesting this? And he's bringing all these professionals, okay, that are finding this research. Notice that it's not just him saying, hey, this thing, we should try it. He's saying, hey, you scientist who works doing this thing, come here and talk about how the virus responds to XYZ thing, right? He's having them talk about it, the experts, right? Why? Because that's important. So that the mainstream media can't do what they always do and say, oh, he said, and therefore it's like, no, here are professionals who work in the area talking about said thing. This is really important. Ozone has proven to kill MRSA, of course, and it's not allowed to be used in hospitals. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? Ozone is used to treat so many things, and it's not allowed to be used in hospitals. Do you really think this healthcare system is still about you? It's here to help you? No. It's here to keep you sick, friends. Let's be legit. Because if you're sick, they make money. The more sick you are, the more money they make. That's the name of the game. If you get healed, why do they need you? You're not in the system anymore. You don't make the money, okay? Think about this. It's important that he said that because he's opening the door. Everybody's doing research now. How many people knew about ozone until he opened his mouth and talked about disinfecting the blood? Not that many. But now they're starting to know about it. Why? 2 reasons. Because the truthers are pumping out articles left and right about ozone therapy and all these other disinfecting agents, right? The truthers are doing that work. But on top of that, non-truthers, normies are going in and they're doing the research and they're finding this stuff too. Okay? So what he's doing is actually brilliant, which is a crazy thing to even say about this dude, but it is, because all he's doing is opening his mouth and giving other people the permission to go and research, right? Because he opened his mouth. And that's how information spreads fastest, is it not? That's what the internet does. It's the gift of the internet, right? Okay. Then I read this article. You ready? You ready? I need to pull up the link directly because I was like, I'm sorry, what just happened? Y'all ready? Okay. Here we go. I'm trying to go on like themes, you know what I mean? So that we don't lose a thread. So right now I'm talking about the healthcare thing. So I want to go on themes. So he mentions that thing. And then which article do I find? Yes, it's all about the money. Well said. Trump administration health spokesman tweets tropes about Soros and the Rothschild family. Fascinating. One of the things I didn't really know is that Caputo was assigned to be the spokesman of the Department of Health and Human Services. Did y'all know that? No. Okay. Reportedly in part because of Trump's dissatisfaction with how the department secretary, Alex Azar, was handling communications during the crisis. Okay. So why is this important? Why is Caputo an important piece? Okay. Boop, 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 boop. So he is quoted as saying, so he responded to someone's tweet about Soros saying wondering why the liberal philanthropist was ready to give to his favored political causes, but not to efforts to combat the coronavirus, right? So this guy on Twitter is like, why is this dude giving money to this particular political party that he favors, which we all know which one that is, the one that has the most CABAL going on right now. But he's not giving any money to combat the virus. Caputo says, are you kidding? Soros's political agenda requires a pandemic. So now we see someone who has been appointed to this position who is straight up calling out well-known criminals. And he just got appointed. This article came out the 23rd of April. So this just happened, okay? So mark my words, this guy's appointment is going to be important. So stay clued in because there's much more to come from that dude. Okay. Now, before we get into the Death Star, so good. Okay. So just an update on the indictments situation, since I've been talking about that. Attorney General Barr came out with an article saying that nothing was going to stop the indictments, that this new election that's coming up was not going to put a hold on indictments because as far as he knew, none of the politicians involved are involved in the indictments. So what does that mean? That means that neither Biden nor Trump are involved in the particular indictments that Durham is handling. So we kind of already know that because we know more or less who those indictments are for specifically, but Barr did say that there was going to be no pause and no interruption to the indictments and no interruption to the juries being run. So you can pretty much assume that right smack in the middle of this election, we might as well be also seeing the takedown of a lot of really powerful criminals. So that's going to be a very interesting day. Okay. Just want to give an update on that. Okay, so let's talk about this Death Star thing, right? Because y'all really want to know what I'm talking about. How many of you are familiar with the man by the name of William Tompkins? And if you're not, you should be. William Tompkins is a fascinating man because he's actually interviewed in Above Majestic. So if you haven't seen that documentary, it's a phenomenal documentary. If you don't know anything about aliens and it's like your first time getting into them, Above Majestic is a great starter documentary because it's not like too heavy with it, but it's also like just good. Someone who's really good at deep diving into that is Dr. Stephen Greer. So if you haven't watched any of his stuff, he has Sirius Project, Unacknowledged, and he just came out with Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It's his newest documentary. All excellent. I watch all his stuff. He's amazing. But William Tompkins is in a really important piece in this ET conversation because he was in the military for the US and in the Navy. And he was a high-ranking official. He wasn't just like a dude in the Navy. He was a high-ranking official in the Navy. Also think he was Attorney General at some point, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, he talks explicitly, okay, about the influence that ETs had on World War II, on Nazi craft, on the Nazi advantage, the technological advantage that they seemed to have, and that didn't make any sense for the position that they were in. So he talks a lot about that. But what really caught... Oh, he has a book out, by the way, called Selected by Extraterrestrials for anybody that wants to like read it. So good. The reason this really caught my attention was one particular interview with him. And I think he was doing an interview for Gaia, and it was about disclosure. And he was really hesitant to talk about this. And he even said during his interview, he's like, you know, if I talk in depth about what I'm about to say next, people are going to really look at this disclosure comment as being nuts, and they're not going to take it seriously. So I would rather we talk about the other disclosure stuff that's less heavy than this. Okay, so he says this during the interview. And what he was referring to was the Draco-Reptilian blood sacrificing and how that got into our culture and our elites. Just going to drop that right there. Not going to go deeper into that, but there's some research for you to do. He also pinpointed specific people who were leaders in our government who were Draco-Reptilians. This is where it gets crazy. 3 presidents he identified as that. Okay, 3 of them. I will link this video so you can watch it. 3 of them. Not our current president, by the way. And one thing he did say about our current president, which was really interesting, was that he knows a lot more about this than anybody knows. That was something he dropped in there, and I was like, interesting. Interesting. But the thing that had me poop my pants almost automatically was when he started talking about the moon. So a lot of y'all know there's been a lot of alternate theories about the moon, right? A lot of suspicion for a long time. Like, why doesn't the moon rotate? Why don't we see the other side of the moon? Like, why is it dark over there? And why do we only see this side, right? It's spheres in space are rotating. Like, why doesn't it move? And he brings that up in the interview. He's like, why doesn't it rotate, right? Why did we go there once and never go back? He's like, nobody ever asked themselves, why did we go there once and never go back? What actually happened when we got there? Okay. Then he says this. He's like, this is not your moon. It's their Earth. I'm sorry. What? Okay. Then he proceeds to say, the moon is a space station. It's not a moon. On the inside of it, there are tiers and levels, and it's completely colonized by different ET beings, most of which see the Earth as a lab and do not have the best intentions for the planet and did not like to be visited when we visited. They did not like that. In fact, they were hostile to those that visited. They allowed them to film certain segments of the moon, and then they told them to get off. What? In that moment, I immediately saw the Death Star, like from Star Wars, and I was like, no wonder we had such a perfect model for the Death Star. I mean, even one of the movies, they're like, is that a moon? It's like, no, that's not a moon. It's a weapon, right? And everybody's like panicking and like, oh my God, right? That's where that idea came from. I always reference Star Wars. I swear to God, George Lucas was either talking to aliens or freaking Edgar Casey incarnated, because that guy nailed it. The whole freaking thing, all of it. He called out so many different things in those movies. It's ridiculous. And the more I know, the more I realize where it all came from. William Tompkins flat out says that once they landed on the moon, that they were greeted very hostilely, that they discovered on the other side of the moon, and even on the side of the moon, that we can see different hangars for aviation, tunnels and living areas that were inside, that the moon is actually hollow and it is inhabited. It is not a piece of rock. And that the Earth is a lab. And remember when I told you guys that, and I was talking about my experience with ET and the Earth Agenda. I need to remember 23 minutes. I'm going to put the link to the Earth Agenda here so you can watch it. When I talk about the Earth Agenda, I talk about the planet being used as a lab. And I talk about it being inhabited and humans being created with the intention of being manipulated. But at some point, we got a consciousness of our own, and we started developing timelines of our own that stopped being concurrent with what the dark powers that be wanted to happen. And so this dual reality kind of set in, where in the background, in the Matrix background, you have these people who are dark magicians controlling the world, sort of, and they're giving humans this illusion of freedom and this illusion of power so that they don't rebel, right? The movie The Matrix is really right on as well. It's another one that's a really great one to revisit right now. So yes, he did. So this goes into what I'm talking about. So Trump, and 2 videos ago, I talked about him signing an executive order starting a brand new space force, He's creating a space force. And he said, when he was talking about it, that a space, what did he say? The space force has not been created. A new one has not been created in 72 years. And he said it with this emphasis. And I was like, 72 years, that is a long time. But then my brain was like, why didn't this just merge into NASA? Like, why didn't you just upgrade NASA? Why are you making a space force? Why is there a separate group being formed that is not part of this one? Okay. These are the kind of questions you have to start asking yourself of why would he be doing that? And what did these people who made this know or do that we don't know? Okay. Like, there's a lot going on. Okay. Yes. All those millions for studies and missions to Mars. Yeah. And so I'm also reading the Alien Enterprise. I shared that book. I'll put the link to that book in there, in here as well. But so interesting how everything I'm reading is aligning. But in Earth Enterprise, they talk about how we've been told there's no life on Mars and there's no life on Venus. And both of those things are actually untrue. And Timothy Good documents in that book several encounters of people talking about how they were met by people who lived in those planets and they had these really bizarre encounters. And he's documented all of that. Fascinating, fascinating. But William Tompkins is definitely someone to listen to. He was an older gentleman when he got interviewed for all of these things, and everything he says is just so straight up. Like, you can tell that there's not a fib in his mouth. He is telling it as it is, and it is remarkable. So here's where it gets even crazier. You thought the Death Star thing was crazy? It's getting more crazy. Okay, so next I want you to, I fell down this rabbit hole and I landed on this video talking about age regression and the natural age of humans. And I was like, the natural age of humans. So one of the things that was said was that the Draco-Reptilians actually are responsible originally for the concept of chemtrails. And the reason they did that was because what those metals do is they actually make you dumber, which we know. Those metals, they enter the brain, they clog your pineal gland from really functioning as it should, and they dumb down the species. Not only that, but it starts affecting how your cells replicate. So basically, by the 50th replication of a cell, it then starts to mutate, and it becomes to break, and it starts to break down, hence why we age. And in this video, he goes back to talking about the astronaut who was in space and he was out of Earth's orbit for an X amount of time. And his telomeres, actually the legs of his DNA started to grow. And he looked rejuvenated when he came back. He looked younger when he returned to Earth. And they were like, what happened? What happened? Yes, so I have these links. I need to go track down some of them, but I always put them underneath all these videos. And that got my brain thinking like, wait a second, wait one freaking second about this, right? Are you telling me that we would actually live longer, like much longer? Then I find this interview, okay, with Timothy Thrapp. It's an older audio clip talking about Antoine Pierre, who was the original creator of a machine, an age regression machine. This is actually a technology that existed, and it got taken over by the elites in France, and he lost his technology. However, Timothy Thrapp ended up recreating this technology with someone who worked with him. Yes, how you repair your DNA, which Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches as well. So Timothy Thrapp ended up working with someone who had worked on that project with Pierre, and they recreated this machine. And in the interview, you can hear Timothy Thrapp talk about how he put his dog in this machine. Like, this is crazy, crazy. Who was like missing a leg, he was blind, he was old, he's like missing teeth. He's like, so we put my dog in this machine, and when he came out of it, not only did he have teeth and he wasn't blind anymore, he also grew a limb. He had his limb. He was almost 95% healed. And the interviewer's like, what the heck? Like, why don't we know about this? Like, why wouldn't we want this to be common knowledge? And he said in the interview, because the powers that be don't want that. They don't want you. He said they already think we have a population issue. This is a 2007 interview. They already think we have a population issue. So why would they give you something to stay alive longer? Doesn't that population conversation sound familiar? Where have we heard this before? Georgia Guidestones, this other random dude who wants to depopulate the planet. Where have we heard that before? 2007, he was talking about it. We have technologies available to us that are fascinating and could literally change the direction of this planet. And they have been purposefully hidden from us. How you like that? I thought that would be interesting for me to bring up on a fireside chat. Yes, back to the Stargate reference. Again, so many shows that have been talking about stuff and we're like, ooh, sci-fi. And it's like, no, this was actually a real story. This is a real story and we just didn't know. We didn't know, just like The Matrix. It's a real story and we just didn't know. So that is my update for you guys. I hope that your minds are as blown as mine is, and I hope that you go look up William Tompkins. You can find, he doesn't have his own channel because he passed away before he could really get into that, but look up all his videos. There are so many people who have interviewed him, who have included him in a conversation. Watch Above Majestic. It's a great introduction to his work as well. That's where he talks the most about his work in World War II. He also has that book, Selected by Extraterrestrials, which I'm definitely going to get because I'd love to hear that from like a military background person, his experience with all of this. And again, as always, watch the briefings if you can. Make that a part of your routine as an educated citizen, because the briefings are really where you're going to get the truth. Every other article written from the briefing is going to have some sort of slight. It's going to have some sort of direction, because that's what they do now. It's not real journalism anymore. It's just like an opinion piece. Every piece is an opinion piece. So just watch it and take some notes and follow and track patterns. That's a lot of what I'm doing here in the Fireside chats, is tracking patterns and bringing it back full circle for you guys to see how everything is connected and it's not just random occurrences. I think it's really important that we start to see the connection points. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and spend some time putting these links in the comments. And again, for all my patrons who are on, thank you so much. I love you so much. If you'd like to become a patron, I'll have the link for that as well in the comments, and you can come on into our community and see all the perks and benefits of becoming one. And please, if you find more interesting links, share them in the comments, share them with the community. Let's spread this awareness. Let's all be truthers together and help each other find information that would be otherwise hard to find. Okay, friends, until we meet again, have an amazing one.